Welcome to the King of Iron Fist Tournament 7. Lei Wulong. Lei Wulong. Get ready for the next battle.
Alright. Today I'm gonna teach you how to correctly hiyaaaa and do similar stuff to that. As usual, we're gonna go through the list together and I'm gonna explain on how to use different moves, how to set up different strings, stuff like that. So 1-1. That's probably your most important punish, because it leaves you at +6 in snake stance if you hold forward after the 1-1 input. If you just press 1-1, it's gonna leave you at +5 and you won't enter snake. So you could mix with lows from there, or do small pokes and stuff like that, or go for Razor Rush, set up counter hits, do whatever you want, basically. So 1-1 is one of your best tools, basically. If you go into snake on block, you can step to the right side to enter Panther stance in hope of evading retaliation of your opponent if he's using any kind of high, because Panther stance completely evades highs. It's a bit risky though. Alright, 1-2 is your basic 1-2, nothing really much to tell. Maybe that on block, like most 1-2s, you're -1, so you could go for sidestep stuff. 2-1-3 +4. 2-1-3 +4 is a bit tricky. So if you use 2-1 and hold forward, you're gonna end up in drunken stance, which you can use to kinda pressure your opponent. It's a weird kind of pressure. If you notice that your opponent likes to interrupt or immediately wants to punish you after 1-2, you go for 2-1. You go for 2-1-3 +4 to make them behave, basically. If it gets blocked, however, you are -11, so you're gonna get jab string punished. Also, you can use that move for some wall carry, like a very, very small wall carry, but I wouldn't recommend it. 3-3 is your 14 frame punisher and leaves you in backturn stance. Also, if you only press 3 and hold back, you're gonna end up in Phoenix illusion. Gonna cover it later. Also, if you press back and 3 at the same time, you're actually gonna take a step back. As you can see, that's just 3 and that's back 3. So I'm actually taking a step back. So if I'm between, let's say, 0 and -3 or stuff like that, or neutral even, I can go for this to end up in Phoenix illusion and then go from there with Power Crush or countered game. Or if my opponent is very passive, go into drunken stance by holding forward after. Stuff like that. Tornado Kick is interesting because it leaves you at plus. Doesn't leave you at as much plus as the animation makes you believe though, so your opponent can interrupt you if you don't go for 1+2 in back turn. If you hold down, like, all the time while the animation is going, you're gonna end up in a grounded state, which is not one of the stances. If you only hold down for a while and let go, you're actually gonna end up in one of the stances you can use for mix-up. If you are in that stance, never immediately press anything, because if you do, you're gonna get clipped mid-animation if your opponent uses any kind of mid. Also, you can do up to... yeah, after the initial one, you do 2 more. Very important for combos as well. So, for 3, the clean sweep is basically to confuse your opponent a bit. If it hits, nice, you got some damage in. If it doesn't hit, or connects on block, doesn't really matter, because most of your opponents won't punish correctly, and it's a bit difficult to punish someone who's lying on the ground. And if you're fighting a character who doesn't have any good moves that hit grounded, then you can pretty much abuse that. And then stance, switch, you can go into Drunken and fake out to go into Snake. You can cancel Drunken by tapping down, and if you then immediately press something, like if you immediately input a command, one of those commands you have from back turn stance, you're gonna get access to that as well. So if I do this, for example, and then tap down and then immediately go for, let's say, I think it was 1, 1, 2, 3. As you can see, I cancelled out of back turn Drunken stance, and then was for some frames just in back turn stance, so that gave me the option to go for all the back turn, normal back turn options I usually have. Alright, lift up cannon. This one is more of a gimmick. I don't use it myself. If you only do the first 2 inputs, you're gonna stay on the ground and can mix from there. Should you decide to do the full thing, god damn it, you're at -7. If your opponent tries to retaliate, you can just harass them with clean sweep. Also, if you're on crouch, you can actually do that string as well. Also, if you hold down while doing that move, oh my god, you're not gonna end up in stance, but just face down the normal way. Alright, 1+2, 1. This is one of your better and safer options to go into back turn, because you're at -3, and even if you're -3, you still have enough time to lie down with down 3+4. And if your opponent tried to retaliate and didn't use any grounded moves or lows, it's mix-up time. Also, if this one hits, you can go for a counter-hit game out of back turn and get a free opportunity to mix up your opponent. And if he guesses wrong, he's gonna eat a lot of damage. Alright, 1+2, 2 is for those people who love to duck a lot. Like, if there's a string that has more than one move, most people are gonna block the first hit and then immediately go for crouch. So, against those people, you've got the mid option. On block also completely safe. Ah, never mind. -10. Well, most people won't punish it correctly, so as good as safe basically. Also, if your opponent tries to punish incorrectly or hesitates a bit with his punishment after that move, you can go for forward 3+4, which is a parry out of Drunken Stance that will parry any punch. It's basically a punch parry that makes you switch sides and leaves you at, I believe it was between +6 and +7. 4-2-4. This one is your long range 12 frame punisher. You're gonna use that for 13 frame punishment as well, because your down forward 1 has barely any range. Like, the range on that sucks. 4-2-4 though has quite the range. It was a buff they gave him in... It was his new move they gave him in Season 4 basically, to kind of compensate for how shitty his punishment game is. Because if any move on block has some sort of pushback, you wouldn't be able to punish with down forward 1. So they gave him that. After using that, leaves you on back turned at +4, so you can set up for some counter hits, you can go for mix-up game. However, if this gets blocked, you're gonna die. Like, you don't have enough time to lie down, you can't step to the side, you're just gonna die. So if you want to punish your opponent with that, you need to know how much minus your opponent actually is. Because if you guess strong and the move was -11 or -10 and you throw that out, you're gonna give your opponent an opportunity to launch you for free. Also, this move screws. So you can use that to freestyle for some combos if you love going for stuff like that. 4-3-1-2 is one of his strings I would utilize to close the gap between me and my opponent. If you finish the full string, it leaves you at -12. If the second connects on counter hit, you're actually gonna get a launch. Also, if you only do the first two, leaves you at -3, so you can still step to the side to go for some sidestep shenanigans. Be careful though, because good opponents will always duck the second hit, so watch out for that. If you encounter any of these players, you just go for forward 3 and check what they are doing, like if they're gonna duck or anything. And if you notice that they are always ducking the second hit, you basically ban that string for yourself, because otherwise you're gonna get them an opportunity to launch yourself. Alright. Beating low kick combo, it's a pretty shitty string. The only interesting part are the first two moves, so forward 4-2, because on block it leaves you at neutral. Most people are gonna hesitate with the punishment because you can go for the follow-up, which is unsafe though. Also, if the low connects on counter hit, you're gonna get a free launch. Additionally, forward 4 on its own completely evades size on startup and is a juicy counter hit on its own. Wrong combo, I need to screw immediately. But yeah, pretty darn good countered. Also, if you feel like your opponent is gonna low parry you because he knows lay very well, you can go for this. completely safe. Your opponent won't be able to retaliate. Also, you can go into Crane if you tap up or down after the last hit. I would not recommend doing that though, because you can't block out of Crane stance. So it's a very bad position for you to be in. Twin Snake Strikes on its own leaves you at +4, so you can set up Razor Rush, you can set up some harassment with down 4. Also, if you hold forward, you're gonna end up in Penta stance, which, as I mentioned before, completely evades size. Down forward 111, -10. The great thing about this though is that the third hit can be delayed very much. So at the wall, great string. The first 2 hits are also natural, leave you at +2, so you can go for some jab strings. Down forward 2. So down forward 2 is your regular down forward 2 launch basically. If your opponent crouches well, where is it? You're not gonna get the launch, so only works against standing opponents or uncountered. Also, if you hold forward, you're gonna end up in snake stance. Outside of combos, it's pretty useless though, because it leaves you at -9, so you don't have any time to move around. Down forward 3 is your long range homing move basically. I don't use it that much, but it's there. And because of pushback, if there's no wall close, you're not gonna get punished for it. Down forward 1+2 is gonna be one of your best friends. It's a fake mix-up. It looks like it puts you into advantage. Like, it looks like it's giving you frame advantage, but it's not. That's why it's a fake mix-up. However, if you manage to land that hit on max range and then take a step back, if your opponent goes for any kind of wild standing move, it's most likely gonna whiff, and that's when you can whiff punish with a sweep to get a combo. Also, setting up that move, if you manage to land a punch parry out of Drunken, or if you've taken a step forward and parried a move through Tiger Parry, you can basically go for Tiger stance again and can really annoy your opponent with that. Down 2-2. Strong countered and only -10. Good damage. Also, if you only do down 2 on its own, it forces crouch and leaves you at -3. So this is great to sidestep right after. So basically I'm forcing my opponent into crouch, and if he tries anything, I'm gonna evade to the side and then punish him for his failed punish attempt. Down 4-4. So if you press down 4 on its own, neutral on hit. Great move. You can chip away at your opponent's health. You can use that move as a check to kind of see what your opponent is going for. If he retaliates, how he retaliates, it's basically a move you use to check your opponent, like what's he gonna do next. Also, down 4-4 is a really great check against characters that have some kind of backturned mix-up, where they also have a power crush or a parry available. Down 4-4 is always gonna counter them. Really great against Master Raven and Xiaoyu. Also, if you hold down, you're gonna end up in snake stance at -1. You can't really pressure there, but you can step to the side in panther stance to kinda evade stuff and then force a mix-up. Also, if you go for 1+2 out of snake stance, you're going to crush highs completely. I can't talk today. I don't know what's wrong with me. Also, snake 3 crushes highs as well. So, if you want to go for high damage, that's your best friend basically. The combo for that though is a bit tricky. Because you need to, after the launch you tap up and then need to time your 4 right to get a wild standing 4. Then forward 3-1 into an instant forward 3-4. Moin, momentan bin ich so ein bisschen lay am Teachen, wollte das aber so ein bisschen auf Englisch halten. Das soll so ein Guide sein, den alle Leute dann nachvollziehen können. Und selbst so. Also, down for 4 uncounted becomes a natural string. Additionally, if you hold forward after down for 4, you can end up in drunken stance if you choose to. It's very risky though and really niche, so if your opponent has any long-ranging jabs or down forward ones or stuff like that, you can use that to go for the drunken stance parry basically. It's risky though. Sehr schön, das freut zu hören. Alright, then we have down back 1. Down back 1 is incredibly risky to use. Oh shit. Alright. Is incredibly risky to use because even if you're +8, you are always going to get hit out of it if your opponent chooses to use any mid at all. Because this is way too slow and the low is even slower. The low will give you a combo. Also, while you're sitting in that position, you're gonna completely evade highs. And you got the mid for wall splat, so you can kind of confuse your opponent with that. So if you're -4, -3 or less, you could go for that to cheese away at your opponent. Very risky stuff though, I don't recommend abusing that. Then we've got Rave Spin. This one is interesting because we've got different transitions. We've got Rave Spin on its own, it can wall break, it can wall splat at a certain distance. If we only do the first one and hold down, we're gonna end up in snake stance. That's great because if we're not close to our opponent, we actually won't be able to get the knockdown. So if we do this move from a range, we're gonna force crouch, right? And if we go into snake, it's gonna leave us at plus, so we get some pressure for free if that doesn't get blocked. Also, if you hold forward instead, you're gonna end up in drunken stance, and from there you can go for some neat setups. You can go for guaranteed damage, for example. You can set up stuff like that as an Oki setup. This would be another one. So if you decide to go for drunken stance, you can go for a shit ton of Oki setups basically. Alright. However, if this move gets blocked, you're gonna get launch punished. So watch out for that. Down back 1+2. Down back 1+2 is one of those evasive maneuvers where you take a step back. So if you're feeling pressured and punch parry doesn't really work for you, you can go for that. If I remember correctly, I think it was minus 12. So it's punishable, but you won't eat as much damage. Down back 3 plus 4, very niche move that's just for confusion basically. If you knock your opponent down, you won't get anything guaranteed, but you can stand up with 1 plus 2 to go for the drunken mix-up I was talking about, where if you tap down, you get access to all the back-turned moves. Also, if you press down 4 at the same time, you're gonna get the the first move from the Rave Spin string, and there the same rules apply. So if I go for down 4 and I hold down, I'm gonna end up in Snake, and if I hold forward, I'm gonna end up in Drunken Stance. This, however, is also launch punishable on block, so watch out for that. Back 2-4 is one of your main screw moves. If you only press back 2 and hold forward, you're gonna end up in Dragon Stance. It's natural on hit, as you can see as well. Also, if only the second connects, uncounted, you get a small guaranteed combo. Also this move, as you can see, he really crouches down. It crushes Highs on startup, so great move to steal a turn. Because the second is a high though, it can be ducked and launch punished, so don't go too crazy with this. Then we've got another one of the screw moves. Back 4-1. Most of the time you will only go for back 4 because it will leave you at +5 and you can go for back turn mix up. Back 4-1 on counter, natural string. On normal hit, because of pushback, completely safe. If you're close to the wall, however, you're gonna get jab string punished, so watch out for that. Then we've got back 1 plus 2. This one evades highs as well, leaves you at -2, so great for stepping to the side. Also, you can just lie down if you want to style or evade stuff and then launch, so that's an option as well. The move, however, is uncounted. It gives you that knockdown animation to show that you've gained immense amount of plus frames, basically. But you don't really get anything guaranteed, so if I were to do anything, it still gets blocked. It just shows you that you can set up some nasty counters if you want to, or go for some moves that take more time to come out. Up back 4. Up back 4 on its own is safe through pushback, though if your opponent has a long range with a long range punish, you're kind of screwed. So what's great about back up 4? If you hold back after you did the move, you're gonna end up in Phoenix Illusion and can go for Power Crush, for pressure into different stances, or for the low, which will leave you at +2, where you can harass your opponent with Snake or go into Panther to force a mix-up. Also, if you decide to hold forward instead, you're gonna end up in Crane Stance. That can be useful near to the wall because you can go for some cheeky stuff. But you can't block in that stance. You can't block in Phoenix Illusion either, but in Phoenix Illusion you got some moves that are great for evading stuff. Also, you can go into Drunken to kind of fish for punch parries. So Phoenix Illusion is a bit safer. Then we've got up 1 plus 2, 4, and up 1 plus 2, 1 plus 2. Up 1 plus 2, 1 plus 2 is your wall bounce move. It's completely safe on block. -8. Yeah, the pouncing tiger sweep, however, is unsafe on block. You're gonna get launched for that. However, you can just do the forward roll on its own, and if you immediately do any kind of input, you're gonna gain access to your wild standing moves. So you can use that to close the distance and make your opponent guess what's coming. Yeah. Up forward 1, this one you're mainly gonna use for combos, or if you want to set up some sidestep shenanigans. I don't really recommend using that move outside of combos though. It's not that great. Falling Tree on its own, you're not gonna use that much. You're only gonna use that in combos or after the Tiger Rage Drive connected. Up forward 3 leaves you in Crane stance at -2. If this gets blocked, you're pretty much fucked, to say it politely. If it connects on hit though... Oh, right, need to change it. If it connects on hit though and your opponent tries to interrupt, you get to launch with 1 plus 2 or countered launch with 2. Both options are highs though, so they can be ducked and while standing launch punished if you're getting too predictable. You can, however, use the... Oh my god, I actually need to do this string myself. Ah, right. You can do, however, 3, 4, 2, 3. If you only do 3, you're gonna stay safe. If you do 3, 4 and the low connects, it will leave you at +1, so you could harass with 1, 1 and stuff like that. Ah, also, if this connects uncountered, you can get some insane amounts of damage. With Rage, it gets even crazier. Also, you can style a lot using that. $82 damage from 1 countered. The second flip can't be evaded because the first one spikes your opponent to the ground. So he can't get up in time and he can't roll to the side. Up forward 4 is... Hang on, need to drink a bit. My voice today is gone. Up forward 4 is your hop kick. It has no range whatsoever, so you mainly use it as a punish. -13 as most hop kicks. And yeah, otherwise there's nothing special about it. One of the ugliest hop kicks in the game, in my opinion, as well. Up forward 3 plus 4, that's your long range launcher. If this gets blocked, however, -1. So if your opponent thinks fast, he can check you with a mid. You can be a step faster though, and immediately lie down and fish for launch. This move is highly steppable though, so don't get too predictable with this. Alright, now we get to Razor Rush. Depending on how many hits we dish out and then step, we can go into different stances. First one is Snake, 2 is Dragon, 3 is Panther, 4 is Tiger, and if you do all 5, you're gonna end up in Crane. You have a low option as well, where if it connects, you're gonna get a launch for free if your opponent tried to press anything at all. So it's countered launch. The thing about the string is the frames are pretty bad. So if I get blocked and go into a different stance, as you can see, if I don't do the full thing, I'm always minus. I'm always punishable. If I do all hits, I'm gonna stay safe. What's special about that string is we can kinda cheese some hits in, because every hit is highly delayable. So I do the first two, for example, in a quick manner, and then do two delayed ones, or I can do one, like I can do every single one delayed one. So basically you can delay every single hit from the different kind of punches, right? You can even delay the kick at the end, if it's the mid one. If it's the low one, you can't delay that one. That always has the same speed. So you're kind of trying to clip your opponent with a hit by using the delay. If you don't go into stance by pressing up or pressing down after, right, you're still pretty minus. Depending on how many hits you did, it can vary how minus you are, basically. So first hit, always safe, leaves you at -2. 2 hits, -12, you're gonna get punished, but not too heavy. 3 hits, still -12. We're still good, right? If I do the full thing, -14. Some characters are able to launch -14, so we've got to watch out there. Also, if I land a hit and go into stake, for example, I'm actually minus, but because we're -2, we can still switch to Panther and evade some highs and sometimes even mids, if it was a mid that doesn't track too much. If we land 2 hits and go into Dragon, we're gonna end up at +1. We're gonna come back to that a bit later, so I can explain the pressure there a bit better. Because I don't know, we're gonna come back to that later. Then you've got Panther, which will also leave you at +1, as you can see. I think if I step to the side, it leaves me at +2. So yeah, frame-wise, Lay's pretty shit. It's more a mental kind of block against your opponents, because most opponents, if they get hit, they're like, oh shit, I got hit, I need to go back into the defensive and I need to start blocking some more, right? So most opponents will freeze up and not retaliate. That's what makes Razor Rush great, basically. It's more of a mind thing. Then we've got Defense Breaker. If we only do forward neutral 2, we're gonna end up at +2, so we can go for some jab strings and stuff like that. If we do the first 2, we're gonna end up in neutral. If we only do 3, we're -17. We will never do only 3, so we either do only the first one or we do the complete string. Because if we do the complete string, leaves us at +5, we're gonna switch sides, and it's gonna leave us in backturn additionally, right? Also, if your opponent tried to press anything at all, it's a countered launch as well. You need to be very close towards your opponent to do that though, because if you do it from a range, you won't get the proper string, you will get the 4-2-1-2-1 4 string instead, which is not as good. Then we've got forward neutral 3. It's a different move that leaves us at plus frames and in back turned, right? I find this one very difficult to use in neutral if I haven't harassed or checked my opponent enough. I will not really use that move because it's a high, it can be ducked, and the range is okayish but not too great. Now we're getting to the interesting part, what makes Lay interesting. We've got Wolf Strike and Rush Combo Mid-Kick. The Rush Combo Mid-Kick, this one on counter near the wall is an absolute monster of a string, right? So if I do that and don't fuck up, oh my god. 61 damage into a wall spread. That's pretty damn good. If you've rage, you basically won the round already. Then we've got Wolf Strike, right? If we do the full thing, it's gonna leave us in Panther stance if we hold forward. If we only do the first... how should I say? If we do the first 2 twos, basically, so we've got forward neutral, 4-1-2-2, right? And if we hold forward there, we're gonna end up in Dragon. On counter, the complete string is guaranteed, which makes it an incredibly strong tool. Yeah, the Rush Combo Mid-Kick, you won't really do the last hit, neither the low nor the high, because... Oh wait, last one was a mid. Never mind, then there is actually a mix-up. The low is -12, I believe. Ah, right. Alright. Oh my god. Yeah, -12. So it's okay-ish. 4-4-2 is your power crush and screw move. -12 in block. 4-4-3, 4-4-3-4. Yeah. If you hold back after 4-4-3, you're gonna end up in back turned, but that's not really worth it because you're -8 on block. You won't have time to lie down. Your opponent can launch you also because of 4-4-3-4. Because the second hit is a high, your opponent after the mid will always duck and then immediately go for while standing punish. So if you go for 4-4-3, you only do 4-4-3 on its own. It has great tracking overall, and you get some decent damage from it as a combo starter as well. Also, 4-4-3-4 is basically your go-to wall carry. 4-4-4, 3+4. It's another screw move you have. Also, you can go into Phoenix or Crane. If you hold back, you go into Phoenix. If you hold forward, you're gonna go into Crane. In neutral game, I never really use it. I only use it for Oki setup. Like this, for example. Right? Also, you can use that string to pick up from that, to make that a low launcher, but the timing on that is very, very strict. It's very, very hard to do. Because this is 18, right? And this move starts at 15 frames. So you basically got 3 frames to do forward 4 input. Very tricky. Forward 3 plus 4, you can use that to break the wall, you can throw that out in neutral. On block it leaves you at +2, but that doesn't guarantee you anything. What you can do if you want to close the distance, you can just throw this out to make it whiff on purpose, basically, to then go for a cheeky launch or a cheeky mix-up on its own. Then we've got 3 times forward 1, leaves you at +8. Yeah. Has poor tracking though, can be stepped very easily. So if your opponent decides to step, you go for forward 3 to keep them in check. Then we've got wild standing 2-1. Yeah. Completely safe on block. If you only do the first, you could go for sidestep shenanigans. Sidestep shenanigans. If you do 2, you need to go back into the defensive. Yeah. Wild standing 3 plus 4 is your main wild standing launcher. Full crouch, down, forward, 2-1-4. If you do the full thing, you're gonna end up in Phoenix Illusion, right? If you notice that the last hit connected, I need to get the distance right. Ah, never mind. You can basically go for 3 to get a guaranteed counter if your opponent tried to do anything at all. If you only do the first 2, you're gonna end up in backturned. In neutral though. So if your opponent tries to retaliate, you're gonna eat punish. So you can either lie down or go for down 4 to crush eyes. Your choice really. Sidestep 1. Sidestep 1, if you hold forward right after, you're gonna end up in Tiger Stance, where it's 50-50 from there. If you hold up or hold down, you're gonna end up in Dragon Stance. If you go into Tiger Stance, on block it actually leaves you at +2. If you go into Dragon Stance, you're at -2 for some reason. Don't ask me why. Sidestep 1 is one of those moves I would really save for the moments you need that. So don't throw it out all willy-nilly, only throw it out when you really need to clutch a situation, so your opponent won't be prepared. Sidestep 4. Sidestep 4 is a mid-launch. It's completely safe on block as well. Yeah, -8. And you can do some decent damage from it as well. So yeah, very, very good move. Just throw it out whenever, basically. Sidestep 3 plus 4, pretty bad. Bad on block. At -4. If it would leave your opponent standing, then it would be great, because you could just lie down to evade punishment. But because it forces crouch, if your opponent decides to press anything at all, he's always gonna catch you if you try to lie down, so that's why it's not great. If you hold down after the move itself, you're gonna do that animation, which is incredibly minus. It has no use whatsoever except being exceptional stylish, I guess. Otherwise has no use. Yeah, spring kick, it's that one is similar to Fangs. No range at all, I don't really use it. Now we go to the different transitions. We've got Snake. Alright, we're gonna go through the different options that way as well. Alright, we've got Snake, right? And 1-1-1-1-1. 11 frame startup, right? if this connects and counter it. Oh my god, I need to remove block. It's gonna leave you at +5. So very, very strong. And you got 42 damage for free, basically. That string is great to close the gap between you and your opponent. Also, if you don't hold forward, you're gonna cancel your snake stance, if that's something you want to do. Yeah. Also, if the first one connects on block, it's gonna jail. That means your opponent can't crouch after, if the first connected on block. Then we've got snake 1-2, 1-2. So, if we do the full thing, we're gonna end up in snake again and we're gonna push our opponent back, right? The last one is a hiyaaaa, so it can be ducked and while standing punished. What we can do, however, is we only do the first 3 moves from that string and then hold forward to end up in panther stance. And from there it's a mix-up, right? However, if we go for that and it gets blocked, we are in a pretty vulnerable position. So if our opponent decides to throw out any mid, that mid is gonna hit us. Then we've got snake bites. If we do the full thing and keep holding forward, again, we're gonna end up in panther stance. If we only do the first 2, we're gonna end up in dragon stance. If the string itself seems familiar, good on you, guess you were paying attention. It's similar to the forward neutral 4-1-2-2-2. Looks familiar, right? Ah, what I kind of forgot to mention. If you do forward, neutral, 4-1 and hold forward, you're gonna end up at tiger stance. I forgot to mention that. On block at -3, not too bad. Yeah, rattlesnake, so that's another high crush option you have. Snake low kick is just to poke away at your opponent to annoy him, and if he tries to retaliate, you're gonna switch to panther and punish. Then we've got a snake low kick to palm fist. If we hold forward after, we're gonna end up in tiger stance, and that's a 50-50. Our opponent has to guess. We can, however, just do 4-1. Be at +1, our opponent still thinks, oh my god, he's gonna do the tiger stance, but instead we're gonna mix with back 4 into back turn mix up, for example. Or go for sidestep 4, stuff like that, like really surprise him, right? Then we've got Angry Viper. This one high crushes and wall splits, great move. Alright, Dragon Stance. Out of Dragon Stance we've got a grab with 1. It's a 1 break as well. Also, if we do the grab but hold back, we're basically just faking the grab attempt, right? And you can chain that together if you want to annoy your opponent and potentially eat a launch yourself. Otherwise, you can just do 1 fake and then go for forward neutral string or go for 2 to get the countered launch. On normal hit, as you can see, knockdown, on hit, countered launch. Huge damage. On block, +4, so great time to set up your Razor Rush or your forward neutral string. Also, the move on its own has some high crush, but it's unreliable. Don't rely on it too much. So if you were to go with back 2 into dragon stance on block and then go for that, you're very likely to eat any attack your opponent throws out, so don't do that. Yeah, then we've got Dragon 3. This is to mix your opponent up, right? Because from there you can go for full crouch, forward 2-1-4, right? You can go for wild standing 2-1, you can go for wild standing 4, wild standing 3. I recommend mixing between full crouch down forward 2-1-4 and wild standing 4. Because wild standing 4 on block has some pushback and leaves you at -4. So you can either go for hiyaaaa step to gain some distance and then go for wild standing 3+4 launch to kind of cheese your opponent out. Or you could go for sidestep movement. Alright. So now we're coming to his main pressure basically. So forward neutral 4-1-2-2-2 is the same as dragon 4-1-2-2-2. It's exactly the same string, only that one I can immediately perform out of stance, and the other one, if I want to do it out of neutral, I need to do forward, neutral, and then do the string, right? So, if you manage to, let's say, do Razor Rush into Dragon, and you notice that your opponent is not very patient and always tries to interrupt you. So your Dragon 2 won't connect and your Dragon 3 won't connect because we are too slow, right? That's when you go for Wolf Strike. If you notice that the first 2 2s are connecting, you're gonna do the last one and end up in Panther stance, right? If you hold forward. If you notice that you didn't manage to land a hit, then you only stay at the first 2 to end up in Dragon stance again. And at -4 you could now try to fish for counter hit with Dragon 2. There's some risk involved, but kind of depends on you, what kind of player you are, if you're willing to take the risk. Then, that string, very familiar as well, it's the same as the forward neutral string, right? Same with low. Then we've got Dragon 1+2. Dragon 1+2, very, very slow. You won't get many chances to use it. If you move around in Dragon or in Snake, you can block on both stances, by the way. The only thing you're pretty vulnerable to are lows, right? But if you kind of mate your opponent with by movement, you can use Dragon 1+2 to get a pretty juicy combo for some pretty sweet damage. Also, while Lei is doing those motions with his hands, right? If you manage to parry a punch of your opponent with that, you get a guaranteed Dragon 1+2 as well. Hello, are you Technod? Nah, I'm not Technod. Highest rank I have is Yaksa. I play a lot of characters well. Yeah. Alright, then we've got Dragon Forward 1+2. This one we basically use if we kind of want to push our opponent away. Because of pushback we're basically safe, because our opponent won't be able to punish us, though it's -11. And if we hold forward, we're gonna end up in Tiger stance. So if our opponent tried to retaliate using jabs or anything, we can immediately use the sweep to get the combo for free, because our opponent made a mistake and we managed to immediately punish him for it. If our opponent noticed, alright, he's gonna go for sweep, then you can close in and go for mid. You can do multiple steps just to mentally pressure your opponent and kinda make him panic a bit, or you do one step forward into one to gain some plus frames, right? Anxiety issues. Yeah, ranked and online can be very, very stressful. It gets better with time, but when you start out, it's very, very stressful. How should I say? Try to go into that with a calm mind, right? There's a lot of stuff you're gonna not manage when you start out, right? Gonna eat a lot of combos, launchers, punishers, whatsoever, but take your losses as a process of improvement, basically. Because, for example, if you keep winning, that means that your current strategy works, but you don't really know how to improve yourself further, right? If you lose, however, you always kind of have some hints what you can improve with, right? I never played Law, to be honest, and I don't really have any ideas how Law works. He has a lot of those Dragon DSS transitions, or how it's called. I could ask a friend, however, if he could like explain me Law a bit. Then I could try labbing him and go through the full list. But first I need to ask that mate of mine to explain Law to me, because I have no idea how the character works. Alright. Panther. So, when we do that wavy motion with the hand, we parry all kinds of punches, right? If we managed to parry our opponent by transitioning to Panther stance, right? We get a guaranteed Panther 2 launch. Our opponent can't do anything against that, because we're basically throwing him off balance to get a guaranteed launch. If I take a look through the move list of Law, I could maybe think of some setups or hints and stuff like that. But it's mainly gonna be very generic step on when to sidestep or when to mix or how to mix and stuff like that. So I could only give some pointers, but no specialist advice, you know. Panther 1-2, you do sliding motion to do that, basically. 12 frames fast, incredible move, launch punishable on block, however. If you do the first hit, however, and only the first hit, it's gonna leave you at -12. And if your opponent tried to launch punish you for that, he's gonna leave himself vulnerable to you, so you can punish his failed punish attempt, basically. So there's like a little mind game to it. Panther 2. Panther 2, -10. 15 frames. Great move. Huge damage if it connects as well. it's basically your main mix with Panther 1, 2, right? Then we've got Panther 3. Panther 3 is only to poke away at our opponent if we know that he's turtling a lot. And we know we've got some additional time to kind of poke away. Or if our opponent decides to stay on the ground, we can harass him while he's on the ground with that. Also, if that connects and we hold back, we're gonna go into Phoenix Illusion, and if we go then for his 3 out of Phoenix Illusion, we're gonna get a guaranteed counter into a combo. Then you have that beating low kick combo. If you remember that one, the first 2 hits are alright, because neutral on block. Countered as well if the first one connects. Or the first 2 connects, that's fine as well. Can still convert that. I would never utilize that string out of Panther though, because Panther on its own completely evades size. While you are in Panther, you've got an auto low block, and if you walk forward and the low connects, you are going to automatically parry that low. So going for that string is kinda dumb. So I wouldn't recommend this. There's a lot of extra stuff I can get away with. Yeah, with Lei there are a lot of people who don't have the knowledge on how to punish him, or when to low parry, or when to duck. So with Lei, a lot of times you're able to get away with murder, basically. Law's a bit different though. A lot of people play Law. A lot of people know Law. Yes, I already mentioned that. Then we've got 3 + 4, 3. If you manage to land a punch parry with that, you can either launch with 2, 2 or 4. Doesn't matter, because both have the same speed, basically, right? From Tiger, we've got 1. On block leaves us at +3, so we can either go for full crouch, down forward 2-1-4. We can go for wild standing 4. Also, one thing I forgot to mention, if we go for the full crouch forward 2-1-4 and hold back, we're gonna cancel out the Phoenix Illusion, so we don't go into Phoenix Illusion. That's to further confuse our opponent. I need to count those later. It's probably less than 80. There are some key moves. I'm later gonna list the key moves as well. Yeah, then we've got Tiger 2-2. Second hit is a high, can be ducked, so be careful. You can kinda hit confirm it. But if your opponent notices that you're always stopping short because you don't want to commit to it, characters like Lars will launch punish you for that. Leroy as well. 20 moves. How large is Law's move list? Then we've got 3. This one you can use at the wall to get a wall split. You can hold forward to go into that stance where you can do either the mid for wall split or the low for a launch. The low on block, of course, is launch punishable. Yeah, then we've got the low sweep. Everyone loves to eat when facing Lei. 70 moves. He has less moves than I thought. I thought he had at least 100. Interesting. Yeah, when we've Tiger Palm, it's his wall bounce. This one's very situational. I mentioned before that if we use down forward 1+2 to go into Tiger stance and then back away, if our opponent tries to retaliate, we can punish with a sweep, right? At the wall, we could go for double Tiger Palm to get the wall bounce. Also, on block, -7, completely safe. And because of pushback, if our opponent throws something out and it whiffs, we can punish his whiff. Then we've got Crane. Also, in Tiger stance, if you take a step forward while your opponent does a kick or a punch, as long as it's not an elbow or knee or stuff like that, you're always going to be able to parry that, right? So, as you can see, I'm kind of throwing him off balance there, right? Gives me plus frames. So I could immediately enforce that situation again with down forward 1+2 if I want to get really annoying, right? Alright. No worries, mate. I think after this stream I'm done, but tomorrow I might stream again. Or this evening if I've slept for a bit. We'll see. Alright, we've got Crane 1. Wall splits. On block. We're gonna switch sides and we're gonna end up in back turned on block. So great. We've got Crane 2, completely safe, homing and screws. Can be ducked and while standing punished roll. We've got this string. If we do the full thing, -12, so we could eat a punish. If we do only the first, we're -5, so we're safe and we could use that time to still step to the side. If we do the first 2 hits and the low connects, it's gonna leave us at +1, so we can harass our opponent with 1-1 and 2-1, 3+4 and stuff like that. If the third, god damn it, connects on block and we're stopping there, we're launch punishable. So we either only do the first 2 or the full string, but we never do only the first 3 hits. If we only do the first 3 hits, we're gonna die basically. So either finish the string or vary it between the first and the second hit. Then we've got Crane 4, results in a hard knockdown. I think you get a down 4, a guaranteed down 4. And that's it. At the wall, you can try going for forward up 2, and if your opponent guessed wrong, need to remove block, you force them into a bootleg mix-up, basically. It's not a real mix-up, but your opponent feels threatened because you're on the ground. Then we've got Crane 1+2, high launch, safe on block, -2. You can punish whiffed punish attempts of your opponent. You can go for sidestep games, stuff like that, right? Then we've got Crane up forward 4. This is your launch out of Crane, basically. Also, you use it for the up forward 3 countered combo. Yeah. But -14, and because you can't block out of crane stance, you're very, very vulnerable, so watch it. Then we've got the manual transition for Drunken Walk, right? We've got Drunken Walk 1, which evades size. We can hold forward to remain in Drunken. We can do 2-2 and hold forward to remain in Drunken, which will leave us at +2, which doesn't really guarantee us anything, but it's there, I guess. We can just do Drunken 2-2 and not hold forward. That will leave us at +5. Great to set up a Razor Rush or a forward neutral string into Snake Bites. We can do Drunken 2 and hold back to go into Backturned to mix them from there to further confuse our opponent. Or we can just do the first and hold forward to remain in Drunken and do that weird walking away animation, right? Then we've got Drunken 3-2-4. From there, if we hold back, we're gonna end up in Phoenix. If we hold forward, we're gonna end up in Crane. If we only do the first two, we're at -1 and force our opponent into crouch, so that's great to go for sidestep stuff again. Yeah. Drunken 3, 1+2 is your main screw move, basically. For that combo, mainly. If you only do Drunken 3, you're +1, so feel free to harass with jabs. If you hold forward after, you're gonna remain in Drunken. That's if you want to set up a parry out of Drunken. So if my opponent were to press anything, oh my god. You throw them off balance and then can launch with Drunken 4. I need some more distance. That was interesting. There we go. And you get a small combo from it. You can do way more damage with... how was it? Stuff like that. Yeah, 62 damage. Guaranteed. Drunken Master 4 I already showed. Taika Sip, this replenishes health. While you do it, you evade highs. If you do all three, you're gonna fall to the ground. Then we've got Staggering Slide. If we manage to connect that, we get a guaranteed 3 out of that stance for some damage. Then we've got a Grab out of Drunken as well. If we are close to wall, we get a guaranteed while standing 3. Then we've got Drunken back 1+2. It's another launch out of Drunken. And a bit safer than Drunken 4, because we're falling to the ground that way. And if our opponent tries to punish us, he needs to go for any hit that connects grounded or low. So we're limiting the options there. And if they whiffed, we can harass them with stuff like that, right? Then we've got that. That's the big heal. You can kind of fake that as well. While you do that animation, you're completely crushing any high that's coming your way as well. And you're gonna recover in the down 3+4 stance. If you do up forward 1+2, you go into another play dead stance. So you could do stuff like this, right? And that's guaranteed if your opponent tries to stand up immediately. And if he decides to stay on the ground, you can do... Oops, not what I wanted. you can go for down 3+4 to still get some damage in. So it's a small mix-up basically. Yeah, manual transition into Phoenix Illusion. We've got the one, which is the same like out of Drunken, right? So if we hold forward, we're gonna switch to Drunken stance. If we do this, we get an additional hit. That's to throw our opponents off. Because if we don't do the second hit, but our opponent expects the low and tries to low parry, we're gonna mix him with a mid instead. Phoenix Illusion 2 is your power crush. It's to make your opponent respect the stance. If they try to interrupt, they're gonna eat a small combo. When we've got Phoenix Illusion 3-3, it's like your neutral 3-3, only that you do this one out of stance, right? Then we've got Phoenix Illusion 4, which will lead you to Snake. So you can harass with Snake 3 and Snake 1+2 if you want to crush highs. Or you can go for Snake 1-1-1-1-1, Snake 1-2-1-2, or Snake 1-2-1 into Panther. Yeah, that's if you want to heal up and then go into Drunken Stance. I haven't really found any use for that yet, though. Yeah, then we've got Phoenix Strike. It's basically his unblockable. Very, very straightforward, very, very steppable. I would not recommend using that one. Then we've got Phoenix Illusion 3. So we can either do just 3 to go to cancel Phoenix, right, and still remain safe at -9. Or we remain in stance to fish for a counter, harass with Power Crush, or mix with a low into Snake, right? Then we've got a Phoenix Spec 4-4-4-4. It's the same as 3-4-4-4, right? Same story. We've got the manual back turn transition. If we do back turn and then press down back, we're gonna cover a lot of ground, right? And gonna evade a lot of our opponent's options and can, while standing, punish with 3+4 for example, or go for full crouch mix-up. Or we immediately cancel out of it to get some more distance, right? You can chain those together pretty fast, but I'm pretty shit at it. Yeah, now we get to the back turn stuff. From back turn we've got 1-1-3-2. If this connects, so if the low connects, I set the second to guard all, You can get a combo from there as well. Getting the combo though is a bit tricky. Does huge damage though. This string is a scrub killer, or what I would call a scrub killer. Players who know Lei will always launch punish that, so be careful using that. Then we've got back turned 2. Yeah. Countered launch. Huge damage. It's against people who love to step against Lei as soon as he gets into back turned. It's just to keep stepping opponents in check. Then we've got 4-1, which uncountered is a natural string. On normal hit though... Wait, what? Ah, I didn't confirm. On normal hit though, second can be blocked. Also, second is a high, so it can be ducked. To mix it, we've got back turned 4-3. That's against opponents who love to duck hits, right? Uncounted launch as well. For some good damage. Then we've got 4-4, that's if we want to stay completely safe. Forces our opponent into crouch at -3. Feel free to sidestep right after. Also, if we don't really want to commit to those options and just want to check our opponent with limit, we can press 4 and hold back to remain in back turn stance, right? Yeah, then we've got 1+2/2. Oh, controller switched off on its own. That one I wouldn't use in neutral. I would mainly use that one in combos. Otherwise, I would not really recommend using it. Because you can get interrupted. It's quite slow. Yeah, very, very slow. You can do stuff like this, however, to confuse your opponent, but you give up a lot of damage. Then we've got flip, flop. Goddamn. If you do this, the first two are guaranteed. The third one is not. Also, if you do that, you crush lows, because you count as airborne. Then we've got down 1. This one is a countered launch as well. Yeah, we've got the Rave Spin, basically. Same rules apply. If we hold down, we go into Snake. If we hold forward, we're gonna end up in Drunken Stance. Yeah, that's just a faster version to get to the ground for some ground mix-up. Alright, now the different lying grounded stances. God damn, my voice. We've got down 1+2. From there, our options are that low, gives us a guaranteed down 4-4, or if we can manage, forward, 3+4. I am not sure if I'm gonna be able to connect that one. It's quite difficult to land. Demonstrated it earlier, no problem, but at the moment... There we go. So you can get a combo from that, but the timing is very, very strict. Also, the low and block is launch punishable, so use with care. Then we've got low kick to play that. That's if we want to go in to the stance that has the most mix-up potential. It's our down 3+2 stance. Later more to that. Then we've got 4-3, real fast. It's the same as our standing 4-3. We're going back to the same stance we entered, right? It's the same stance. We didn't do any stance transition. It's the same one. Yeah, then we've got 3+4. That's if we want to stand up again and remain safe. And if our opponent got hit, we get some damage, which is always nice. If the distance to the wall is right, we even get a wall splat. Then we've got down 1+4. This one is for really cheap mix-ups, like low damage mix-ups, which are low risk as well. We've got the slide, which will transition you to his down 3+4 stance. we've got 3+4, which is his mid option, and we've got down 3+4, which is his low option. And as you can see, if I do the low version, I'm entering the same stance I was in before. So I can chain those together till I hit a 3+4, then I've switched, you know. Also, with 1 and down 1, you can switch between 2 stances, basically, right? So what you can do, for example, I go like this into stance, and then do 1, down 1, and then stand up with 3+4. That's just an example, right? Or I lie down with down 3+4, roll to confuse, my opponent expects a mid, and the low comes flying, right? Also, if you're lying and press 2, that's how to get out of stance, because in stance your hitbox is your hurt box is larger, so your opponent can still hit you. If you get out of stance, however, mids will no longer hit you at all. Before in stance, there's still a chance that mids can connect. Here mids will completely whiff, except if it's any kind of grounded hit, of course. Yeah, then we've got 1+2. Depending on which stance we're using, if we use 1+2, we are either back-turned or facing towards our opponent. Mainly we're gonna use that when we are facing away from our opponent, to bait them with Drunken. And if they're coming after us, we're either doing down 4 and hold down to go into Snake, or we bait them by tapping down and then immediately going for his back-turned options, right? Let's see. Like that. Then we've got Play Dead, which is the stance he's probably most famous for online. The low with 3 gives you a launch, but is launch punishable on block. That one was -14, I think. Minus 13, alright. If this connects on hit though, also it's homing, so great. You are +11, so feel free to do whatever. You can go for Razor Rush, you can go for forward neutral, 4-1 to into Snakebite, or just forward neutral, 4-1 to go into Tiger, or immediately go into Tiger with down forward 1+2. You can mix with the low, you've got a lot of options basically. With 3+4 you can kind of sit up, and then there's a mix up between 1 and 4. The 1 option is safer, the low option is launch punishable. Then we've got Play Dead, where we're facing away, and that's the best stance for lay, because we've got a proper low launch where we can combo from, and we've got a proper mid launch as well. So that's a great stance to be in. Then we can go for stuff like that, right? But whenever there's a low involved, we're launch punishable, so we need to watch out there. The mid, however, right? The mid that launches is great because it's only -12. Really, really strong tool. Also, if I slide, because I'm switching sides, I use the 4 to get a mini combo basically. Opponent won't be able to escape that one. Yeah, then we've got 3+4. This one you never use. Maybe in combos after the Tiger Rage Drive connected, otherwise you will never use that one. That one we covered, that one we covered. That one we covered. That's just a taunt, no use whatsoever. Another taunt, where you end up in Drunken. And another taunt that also makes you turn up into Drunken. Then we've got the 10 hit combo. That one is interesting because if a third hit connects, you get a guaranteed 3. Normally, usually. I don't know why it's not working at the moment. It's supposed to work usually. Alright, if the low connects and counter it, you get a guaranteed up forward force launch. Like that. You can see if you got it countered or not by the animation on how he's taking some steps back, right? So if you see them taking some steps back, you know, alright, got him on counter. Yeah, both scripts I can ignore. Up forward 1+2 is interesting. If you immediately stand up by holding up and then going for 3, you're going to hit your opponent if he remains grounded, and if he tries to get to go for any get up kicks, you're always going to interrupt him. Forward 1+2, you get a guaranteed forward 3-1 if your opponent tries to stand up immediately, or forward 3. So that's a launch for free if you can manage the timing. Rage Art we can skip. Rage Drives can be interesting, so we're gonna cover those. I should probably switch the map for those, cause we are in dire need of wards.
Get ready for the next battle.
Alright. Snake Rage Drive, right? +8 shoves the opponent away. We get a little wall split, right? If we manage to launch our opponent, for example, I could use down forward 2 to make them split against the wall and then go for the Rage Drive. Also, because it's similar to Angry Viper, it crushes Heist as well, so down forward to Snake and then going for that can be very powerful. Dragon 1+2 gives you even more plus frames. Yeah, if forward neutral 4-1-2-2 connects and countered, so that's probably the best time to go for that, because then your opponent won't be able to interrupt. Panther, Rage Drive. Just good in general, because as soon as you've got Rage, it's legit 50-50 between the mid launch and the Rage Drive low, right? Then we've got Tiger 1+4, huge damage. Yeah, very huge damage. Also on block +15. Feel free to do whatever you want, basically. Crane is probably the most useless of all. I haven't found any cool stuff from it, and I don't use it. Right. Combos. So, at the wall, there's some specific stuff I wanted to show. Remember that string that was on counter? It's really, really good. Near the wall. With rage. Huge damage. The round is basically yours. If you want to break your opponent through the wall after that, you can do that as well. God damn it. Oh man. By lying down with play dead facing away, so down 3+2 and then going for 3+4. Really, really cool looking combo, lots of style points. Also, if you want to go for guaranteed damage, you can go for this. God damn it. Neutral jump. Full crouch forward. 2, 1, 4, 2. Against male characters, everything's guaranteed. Against female characters, the last hit, the power crush, we're always with, so keep that in mind. Right, wall combos. If you land a high wall splat, you can go for forward 4-2, up forward 3 to go into crane and mix from there. If you get a wall splat from a distance or you get a low wall splat, you go for the classic forward 3-1, up back 4, and there you can decide if you want to go for crane stance to annoy your opponent with, right? Or go for Phoenix Illusion. Very powerful stuff. Just gonna show you that one other combo I was talking about earlier, and then we're done. Then we've covered pretty much everything.
Get ready for the next battle.
There's probably a lot more, I just don't know, but that's most of Lei covered in one video. Alright, let's see. Ah shit, should have done that differently. Alright. Let's see. No, wasn't a true combo. I fucked that one up. Yeah, something like that. It's if you want to style, that's your go-to option basically. Oh my god, the rage drive needs to come immediately though, and the lying down part as well. Yeah. And I think that pretty much covers it. That's Lei as I understand him. I thank you for watching and holding out that long. I hope I was able to help and teach something new, and I guess I will see you next time. Till then.